I'm glad Jim is all dressed with his 1964 World's Fair hat because we're going to be looking at a lot of 64 videos for this particular outing. It's pretty much mixed bag. Some of this stuff is really well done. I was, we have some shots where, the guy will take a look at this, and we have other, going all over the place. But some of them, it's a mixed bag. Some of them have outstanding colors. I was working on one yesterday that looked like it was shot yesterday. It was really good. So I've got a couple that I did the full editing on, taking out the bad splices and that sort of thing, and then others that are just in the second stage of the restoration process. Again, they get scanned. Well, first I physically clean them, then I scan them, then I digitally clean them and stabilize them, and then I edit them and do the color correction. So we'll see a variety of them here. But the first one here, we actually have some music for, so I have to remember to share sound, optimize for video clip. The sound, by the way, we're going to hear is from the PA system that played at the fair. So not only do we have vintage videos, but today we have some vintage audios. So I've got this on a different monitor. Let's see if this works for us, and give it a go. Oh, that's interesting. When I went to the second monitor, let me put it back the way I usually do. I brought it over here and everything went away on this monitor. So just 1 second and I will fix this. The joys of technical support, Okay. I'll be right with you. I gotta rewind it here. That's what they say. Never try anything new, right?
Yep.
All right, share screen, VLC. Here we go. This guy was nice. He did a nice little title slide here. This is at the Passerelle main entrance, looking down at the Greyhound staging area, and then from the rooftop area over to the Norman Pavilion. This was early 1964. Basically, no leaves on the trees, and all the brass rails are bright white. Protestant Orthodox Pavilion. Watch this. Watch the ladies that come on the screen, and then he realizes they're there. Now they're not.
Like the music is much like the pictures.
Yeah. Polynesian restaurant. With crowds like this, you don't know how the fair did not make money. I mean, it's doing pretty well. The show at Polynesia.
Where was the cameraman?
Where are that's a good question for this one. I have to look at a map and try to figure it out.
You say that's the
I
music they were
wonder,
playing on the PA system?
Yeah.
That was the music on the PA system?
Yeah, they had music that would play on the PA system throughout the fair. You know, they had speakers in about every fourth or fifth of the luminaire, you know, the street lights, and they would play that. So I was fortunate enough a number of years ago, I bought the original master audio tape, and I have them on my site. People like Wayne have been really helpful in trying to figure out exactly what some of the songs were, because they all came, you know, unlabeled. So let's see. Now we
I
have
don't,
another one from the early
I
60s.
really don't remember them playing music when I was there.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah, they sure did.
I wonder where that man in this film is today.
He's not here that I know of.
Well, it'd
He looks
be
like,
interesting to know who he was and where he
Yeah.
is.
It would
Was.
be.
I
I
think
would say he's about 35 to 40 years old there. So he
Yeah.
probably is not alive.
that kid that appeared briefly with a box camera. That's the same box camera I had, a Brownie Hawkeye.
Yeah, the Brownie Hawkeye, yeah.
Yep, there it is.
What is the gray bar we always see along the bottom of the screen for, Bill?
That's the control panel for the session.
Oh, okay.
I would normally hide it, but these films are so short that I have to keep bringing it back. You know, it's interesting there, the trash can did not have a World's Fair logo on it. I think, again, this was very early during the fair years, and sometimes they had to go and catch up on things. Look at the New York Air of 1964. Yuck.
I guess the Queen's Air in comparison was much nicer because I don't remember any issues out there.
Well, it's anything like that. When you see something in a distance, you know, it's you know, more noticeable. But I think New York, the Manhattan also had a higher concentration of you know, incinerators and things like that that were blocking it up. So let me see what else we have here for you. I have to switch over to a another hard drive, so just 1 second here. Yeah, I remember the air back there being that way at that point in time, and your clothes would get all kind of gray and gritty and just nasty. So things like catalytic converters and stuff like that sure do seem to work. Okay, so this one has gone through the physical cleaning and the digital cleaning part, but has not had all the color corrections and everything else done. So we're in the parking lot, getting ready to go visit the fair. Over to the right, we're going to see pop up the Sinclair gas station. There it is right there, the gas station of the future.
Bill, do you know if any of those were built elsewhere?
Nope, that was the one and only. It was a prototype and turned out to be very labor intensive, so they scrapped it. Nice view. You can see the amphitheater there. And now we're in the fair itself proper. We could place this as 1965. It had been labeled 64, but I believe this is 65. I just saw a big Oli there. All this will magically go away.
Look how clean and white it was.
Everything looking pretty good for the fair.
Yeah, I like that view of the Astral Fountain from the sunny side. So many people took pictures of it from an angle that made it look like an abandoned ironworks.
Yeah, I remember coming in and seeing the fountain because we usually parked in the lake amusement area parking lot and came in. And I remember seeing the fountain and being pretty impressed by the size of it when we first got there. The thing is, I don't remember it rotating, too much. And obviously it did, but I know they had to turn down the water volume in it because it was soaking everybody in the area. So those are our little prototype cars we're all going to be driving around in just a few years.
They never anticipated self-driving cars then.
No, well, actually they did. I mean, that was part of Futurama. They were talking about the highways are going to be radio controlled and space for distance and safety. I mean, if everybody did have a auto drive car, you could put people on the freeway 110 miles an hour, just put them 6 inches apart. But
You're right about
knowing
6
what I
inches
know
apart.
about computers, I don't want a computerized car for myself.
Yeah, when you get them 6 inches apart, you can put a lot more cars per mile.
Yep.
So that beats adding more lanes. You have more capacity that way.
That's the theory, but think how often your Windows computer crashes. Do you really want your cars, or God forbid, some hacker getting into it? I can remember those fountains being very cooling on a hot day.
Which fountain was that?
Those are the fountains around the Unisphere.
Okay, I don't see the Unisphere. Oh,
There
there
it
it
is.
is. Okay. You don't realize how big it is. So when the pool's empty, you can walk up to the base of the pedestal.
Yeah, when you walk up and look up, it is big, no doubt about it. looking at the map, where do we go next? There's Mickey collecting all the money for UNICEF. This thing was severely overexposed, so I really had to damp it down to get it this far, and now I'll put it into the editing software and see what more can be done with it. And then they must have realized their exposure setting was a bit off because it gets better at a real change. Another sign is 65.
As I recall, that statue went walkabout. I haven't seen it for a long time.
Yep.
It must have been a very hot day the way people were dressed there.
Yeah, I do remember some days were just scorchers between the heat and the the humidity. So some days, that's where I said I like to, the evenings, the humidity would just drop, temperature would drop, and the crowds, a lot of people would go home. But I can remember some days where you're saying to yourself, "Is this really fun?" But then you remember the clock is ticking, the end is coming, so you go no matter how hot it is. Off to Lincoln.
Was that Lincoln on the horse?
Yeah, it's he's reading his textbook, studying as he's going to and from his farm.
Oh,
Nobody wears blue jeans back then.
Very few. Every now and then you'll spot somebody, but certainly very few.
Your conversion of these films saves them as AVI files, Bill? Is that what I see up there?
This is as an AVI, yeah. They can save them in a variety of formats. The trouble is if I save in something totally lossless, a film like this ended up when I did it was 100 and I think it was 125 gigabytes. So yeah, so I tend to reduce them down to something that's manageable.
Yeah.
The other thing besides the huge size is the editing program. When you stick a 125 gigabyte file into it, says, "Let me think this one over for you." So when you do a rendering and you try, an effect of try to adjust the color, it has to go back and take every one of those frames, frame by frame by frame by frame, and adjust it, and takes forever. Big
Would
white
you be
helicopter going by.
Will you be able to take out some of that camera shake?
What's that, Wayne?
The camera shake, what, is that a further process to reduce it?
Yeah, you know, so again, this is one of the steps in the processing that there's some stuff like that splice that just went by, I'm gonna take out. You know, for the most part, the guy did a nice job, but then, you know, every now and then, like I said, the exposure and this stuff, you know, you just, you wish they had done better, but I guess bad film is better than no film, right? Boy Scout off duty.
That's on top of the heliport, I guess.
No, that was down at the bottom. They brought that was a demonstrator model of the helicopter, and they brought it in, and people could go and tour it down below.
It's just interesting to think of all the design and planning. You know, at some point, somebody said, I need to order 500 cone-shaped seats with a Chrysler logo.
Yeah, it's great advertising. There goes off the heliport again. You know, you think about how many impressions these companies got of people just walking by, that you see things like the Chrysler logo, and you know, you wonder how much it influenced them to go buy a Chrysler. Look how well dressed everybody is. Wow.
I wonder if those seats could have been made in a Chrysler plant. They would have the equipment, I would think.
Could be.
Can you imagine going there today and wearing a jacket and tie?
I wonder when those hats died off. They were so big here, and then you see some of them at Expo 67, and just all of a sudden, nobody wanted a hat with an ostrich feather anymore.
Yeah, that base alone's got to be at least 12 feet high. So I walked right up to it.
You're talking about the base, I think it's 20 feet.
You think it's 20 feet the base?
Yeah, because the globe is 100 and the total is 120.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time when the fountains are off and it was dry, you could walk right up and take a close look.
Up on the roof of Kodak now. It's unfortunate how much dirt gets, oh, back to the parking lot. It's unfortunate how much dirt gets attached to these things over, you know, over the years of projection and everything else. And like, I clean them and sometimes they come off, the cleaning pad just comes off just streaked with stuff. Other times, like on this one, the stuff is so embedded in the emulsion, you know, you could try to get it off, but you don't want to damage it. And I guess there's some ultrasonic cleaners that the professional places use. So that building, by the way, right by the man's head, it's called the Boathouse, and that's one of the surviving structures from the 39 World's Fair. More
Some of
people
those
coming in. Gonna go
Aren't
visit
some of the
the fair.
blotches there due to peeling of the film, not just dirt? I thought the film would peel after a while.
You know, it all depends how stuff's stored. I mean, like I said, we're gonna see some of it that looks, you know, first of all, it's how it's shot, and then it's how it's stored. I mean, if you store the film in a you know, a hot environment, you kind of end up with mold and all sorts of stuff. Others, you know, you store in the right condition, they really hold up well.
I was just noticing how many station wagons were coming in.
Yeah,
You notice how many trees they planted for the 64 fair, but didn't they have any surviving trees in the 39 fair that they left on the grounds?
yeah, there were quite a few. What they actually did was they tried to save as many as possible. And then during the construction, they took a number of them out and they took it over to the botanical gardens, the Queen's Botanical Gardens. They stored them there for a number of years while they were doing the work on the fair, and then they came back and put them back in at the fair site again. So quite a few of the trees still on the site today are survivors from the 39 fair or new additions for 64.
Weren't most of those large, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead, Randy.
the large trees that line like the main mall, weren't those from 39?
Yeah, they actually had a whole botanical commission put together before, you know, during the construction phase, and they analyzed tree by tree by tree, you know, the health of the tree, the type of the tree, the rarity of the tree, the ability of it to be transported and brought back again. So I think to their credit, they were very diligent in trying to preserve as much of the park type setting as possible.
What pavilion is this?
What's that?
What pavilion are we looking at?
Oh, that's the Vatican Pavilion.
Ah,
There's Belgian Village just through the archways there.
didn't
And-
recognize that close in.
And there's that one. Okay, so let me get the next one here. So in this one, the film is in three parts because when I clean it, I try to replace any obviously visibly bad splices. But every now and then, one of them just decides it's going to come apart. So we get to see this one in three different pieces. So we go by Newark Airport, look at all the constellations there.
Wow.
This guy started in Ohio and drove in on the Ohio Turnpike, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and the New Jersey Turnpike, and we're going into Manhattan now.
There's the Pulaski Skyway.
Yep. Like I said, whoops, look at this, look at that, whoop, no, look at this. We're going into the Lincoln Tunnel. This guy actually caught some really interesting footage on the Pennsylvania Turnpike that when we're done with this guy's fair films, we'll take a look at the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Now, I don't know the rules of the things these days. Do they allow trucks in the Lincoln Tunnel?
Not if they're carrying flammable material.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, in we go.
Ceiling starts real high at the arch and then it gets a lot lower.
And we come out and there we are in beautiful Manhattan.
Traffic is a little heavier now.
Yeah, God.
Yeah.
And oh, there's the fair. We're almost there. And now we are there.
What the heck was that with the red stripes?
I didn't see which one you were talking about there. Sorry.
I think it was a tower of light.
Yeah, it was the Tower of Light was the one section there.
And before
Ah.
that, like there were like red stripes on the Better Living Center.
Oh yeah, they hang all these ribbons on the Better Living Center was just so god awful ugly. They tried putting those ribbons on it to just give it some eye catching stuff that you'd look over at it, but I always thought they looked just terrible. The solar fountain.
Yeah, I always liked the solar fountain because it reminded me of the covers of fantasy and science fiction books.
Oh, I guess yeah, probably the angle they were going for. Another nice, warm looking sunny day in the park. The UAR Pavilion, Egypt. More from Polynesia. The film's going to break in a moment, and then we'll have to go to the next reel. When I put this into the editor, I can adjust the tone levels on this so I can bring it back into more of a balanced look. Okay, let me get to the next part. Part 2. Again, we'll see some of the repeat in this because I had to fix the splice and then go back through it, so we get to see the same dancers entertain us again. I hate to think how many splicing tapes I've used over the years, and I was sitting there looking at all the debris, the paper that they come on and everything, thinking, my God, I probably filled up half a landfill with just the remnants of splicing tapes and old leaders and stuff like that.
Bill, did a lot of these amateur films have like Scotch tape splices?
Oh yeah, it's really funny you mention it. The one I did yesterday, it was, I like I said, I manually clean it. So I'm sitting there cleaning it and cleaning it. What the hell is this? The guy had just taken it and overlapped a break in it and put Scotch tape around it. So I thought, okay, that's bad enough. I fixed that. Then I went down and there's another one where this time he used old masking tape. I actually at one point found not on anything recently, but about 2 years ago, I was doing one and it looked like they'd used the sticky part of a Band-Aid to hold it together. I guess if you've got the Smiths and the Jones and the Mertzes and the Ricardos over watching your movies and they break, you just
Yeah.
fix them as quick as you can and get the thing going again. But yeah, sometimes the splicing is just horrible.
Yeah, I can remember my dad would use Scotch tape, but then he would use either like a needle or something to poke holes, where the sprockets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, this particular case, the guy just overlapped it. I mean, it was like twice as thick as it should be, and he just like taped it to get it through the projector and done. I have to admit, this is how I really hurt myself. I was practicing this the other day. There's the. All right, now we get a part 3. 1 second. Oh no, I didn't go all the way back in this one. Hang on here. Did I? Hang on. I don't want to see these gals all over again. 1 second. Okay, yeah, okay. This is part 3 because okay, I'm going back here. We're gonna see all this again. Hang on.
You say go back to the part where you hurt yourself.
Yeah, right. After the fair, we're gonna go into Manhattan for a little bit. Still, when you look at this, isn't it amazing to think 2 years ago this wasn't there, 2 years from now it won't be there. One of the smoke rings was just popping up real quickly in that last shot.
Do you know if this building, the one that just passed, was that Hong Kong?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did it end up anywhere or just
No,
trash pile?
that one I believe was just torn down.
Was just torn down or
No,
was
it was only torn down. Now this one, Malaysia, was taken to Texas and became an administration building for a private college in Texas. So some did survive and others just were torn down.
What college that was?
I don't recall the name of the college off the top of my head, Ray, Don. It was interesting though, because the college went bankrupt and people were trying to get their verification of their diplomas, and the school wasn't there anymore. So they have to get them from the Texas Department of State, I gather. But I have notes somewhere where it was. Paris Pavilion, I think, became a bowling alley, and so certain things got repurposed and others are just shredded.
Don, you're down in Texas. How's the flooding situation where you are?
We don't have a problem, but where a lot of Manny's relatives live, there's a ton of flooding over in Conroe.
What city do you live in?
I live in Austin, or actually Round Rock, just north of
Okay,
Austin.
Austin.
But yeah, the flooding is really, really bad. We had a tornado or two near here, but nothing did any damage.
So taking a leisurely monorail ride now. Look at everybody staying on the sidewalks. Oh, I'm hungry for Chinese food all of a sudden.
Yeah, I could go for some egg rolls or egg foo young.
My mom would get that from time to time, and we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the Chungking stuff.
You can't even buy egg young anymore.
Bill, the building was at the University of Plano.
Okay.
And then when they went bankrupt, it was torn down, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Thought I might make a side trip, but there's no way I'm driving out to Plano.
You're still planning to move out of Texas, aren't you, Don?
Yeah, we're closing on a house in a little over 2 weeks, and we should move in late June.
Are you going up north somewhere, you said?
Vermont,
Oh, nice.
What?
yeah, Ferrisburg, Vermont. If you look at the background of my photo on this thing, that's the view from my living room window in Vermont.
Franksville, there was an attempt to have a hot dog chain. That building did get relocated, I think it was Pennsylvania. So, one of the rare things that's still around, this part of the Texas pavilions down there, Carousel Park now.
Hmm.
There's Continental Circus.
Sort of like putting a circus in Disneyland. Nobody really wanted to go there to see a circus.
Yeah, exactly. Tad's Steakhouse, yay, love those steaks.
Was that there the whole 2 years?
Yes, it
Tad?
was, and it's super popular.
Looks
There
like
were several Tads throughout
Extravaganza
Manhattan.
Spawn.
Yeah, Tads were in Manhattan also.
Yeah, when my dad would take us and visit his office, we would go to Tad's Steakhouse, and boy, that was big living for a 10-year-old kid, and get a steak and a piece of cheese toast or whatever. It was really good stuff. The last time I went, it was like, oh, this is shoe leather, but either
So
my
it-
memory is bad or the food has changed.
So it's a New York area chain.
Yeah,
Nothing says it can't be both, Bill.
yeah, that's true. So we're on our glider ride, taking a tour around.
See that Korean building? That was South Korea, obviously.
Yeah, it was South Korea. North Korea wasn't even mentioned at that point in time. So it was just Korea.
I think
Feel
the
like we
first
should have a little
North Korean
fan
pavilion
blowing.
was at Expo 2010, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty lame, but
I feel like we should have a little fan blowing in our face so we get the feel of being on the glider ride. Festival of Gas.
We used to have Larry Leaf in our group. He was a driver for Glider Ride. Haven't seen him on a meeting in a long time.
No. I just saw somebody post this morning that they were talking about the Schaefer Pavilion, how his uncle liked to go there because it was really cheap to drink beer at the fair. The lower level of Kodak, they would have rotating exhibits of photo clubs would come and have competitions and put them on display down there. So if you weren't a good enough photographer to be up in the big pictures up top, you might still end up with your pictures on display at the World's Fair, which would be a real honor. And I've got to redo this for the nighttime stuff. It overexposed here. Tower of Light.
I would have thought the beer would have been overpriced at the fair.
What's that?
I would have thought that the beer would have been overpriced.
Yeah, hang on 1 second. I gotta adjust my speaker.
Schaefer may have done that to capture an audience. You know, maybe.
All right. Get past the night stuff here. Let's go into Manhattan for a little bit. Snow Emergency Street, the Bowery. World's Fair banners, if you see them even in the Bowery, they were hanging there. Looks like we're taking out of a window of a cab. Sure like the Statue of Liberty there.
Staten Island Ferry.
Yep. Heliport there and a helicopter getting ready to take off.
You can get a great helicopter sightseeing tour from Battery Park.
I bet that was expensive though.
It still is about $400 a ride.
Wow.
Wow.
If you go up on a hot air balloon, that'll set you back about $250 a ride.
I didn't even know they had hot air balloon rides.
No,
back
not in New York. They don't have hot air balloons.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, I can't really imagine a hot air balloon in that airspace. The controller might wig.
No, not over Manhattan. No.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that.
That airspace is just a wee bit busy for a hot air balloon.
They think it's one of those spy balloons. They shoot you down.
Yep.
I'm gonna go visit the United Nations.
Bill, would that helicopter ever be going to the World's Fair, or was that strictly from the top of the Pan Am building?
That one was too big for the fair. It was probably going back and forth to JFK or something. Well, actually, it'd be Idlewild probably still then. But yeah, I don't think I ever saw a dual-bladed one up on the heliport at the fair. Look at all the neon.
At Times Square.
Yep.
Automat.
Yeah, I was looking at that. All of a sudden, I want to get some quarters and go have fun. And then we leave town. We go off and drive across the bridge here. Everybody does have their Dramamine, I hope.
I hope that's not Dad filming. Yeah, whoever's driving is not filming.
Woo, we're all over.
Roger, hey, disconnect my router. Get down. Get out. Come on.
And here for my fellow New Yorkers is the Tappan Zee Bridge, and made many trips over that thing over the years. So they can call the new one the Como Bridge. To me, it's always going to be the Tappan Zee.
So that bridge has been replaced with a newer.
Yeah, this was all. It's interesting. I forget what the lifespan of the bridge was, but when they finally got it down, it was about 15-20 years past its original planned lifespan. And now there's a set of dual spans that go over. But this was monumental. When you got to the Tappan Zee Bridge, you were crossing the Hudson and you were leaving New York City behind and going into the wilds of upstate New York. And
Bear Mountain. Yeah, up to
yeah.
Bear Mountain. That looks like the Key Bridge. It just collapsed in Baltimore. Same type of design.
Yeah, they probably, save money, if it worked once, redo it. Now that's the end of this here. And let me go back, we'll get away from the fair for just a second. This guy, this was on the way to the fair, this next thing. And the guy, it's very, very dirty. I mean, this film was not stored well, but it's signed for the Ohio Turnpike. But he gets on a section of the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which is really interesting because they were in the process then, they had realized they built the Pennsylvania Turnpike, one of the first major highways, and it was outdated by this point in time. So in 1964, they were underway to a section to reroute major sections of the turnpike. So that meant building all new tunnels. We're going to see a tunnel coming up, the Laurel Hill Tunnel, that it was very narrow and very congested. So they actually built a parallel section of the highway. And what they did was they just basically severed. Okay, you can see all the cars waiting to go into this thing. Let me
Yeah,
just,
merged down to one lane, so I recall.
yeah,
It's abandoned now, and you could still go in and explore it.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Let me pause this here real quick if I can get to the pause control.
Train
The
tunnel.
Siding Hill Tunnel and the Laurel Hill Tunnel. So
Yeah,
instead
so
of tunnels, they actually built a road around the mountain instead of tunneling through it.
Yeah, what they did was they abandoned this, and the sections of highway are still there. You can ride through it on a bicycle, but they use it to test things for highway construction today. So they said, okay, how about if we put instead of just asphalt, we'll put glass fault down with a mixture of ground glass in it. How do the stripes show up? How do what sort of crash barriers? So they still use this section of road for testing purposes, but for the most part, it's totally abandoned. This tunnel, I think, was 4,871 feet. So it's a pretty good sized tunnel. But if you're back in the area, you can go explore it. And there's all sorts of urban explorers that have gotten up into the ventilation shafts and, because, again, besides just having the tunnel, you have to get all the exhaust fumes out and everything. So if you go online for the abandoned tunnels of the Pennsylvania Turnpike, so this was right before they closed it and went to the alternate route.
If you go in there, there's no lights though.
Nope, not today.
Interesting note on the New Jersey Turnpike. When they built it almost completely straight line, no turns. And people started crashing in random places for no reason. Turns out it was no road hypnosis. They hadn't thought about the fact that if you just go in a straight line for so long, people just drifted off and went off the road.
Wow.
So they had to go back and add turns to it.
I heard that on many roads, they add turns just for that reason. So you don't get highway hypnosis.
That's crazy.
People,
Then after this trip, they went to Washington, D.C., but I think we'll skip that for right now. And hang on here. Okay, next one. Come on, open up here we go. So this one's in two parts. Processed by Kodak going by there. I tell you what, I'm going to skip this one. The quality is not so great on this, so hang on. Let me go get a different one.
It's incredible, Bill. You never run out of movies.
No, I just ran out of time.
if you were to do it full time, how many years would it take you to clear your backlog, do you think?
Good question. Okay, hang on. So this is the first one. This has not been through the color correction and digital cleanup stuff, but I thought the guy did a really nice job. And this is the original uncorrected colors. When I go through it, I'll reduce the grain. I'll take out a lot of the dirt and everything. But this guy got some really great footage. I mean, look at the Skyway there with all those cars going on it.
Oh. The cameramen seem to have longer attention spans in these reels than normally.
Yeah. So some of them are here, there, everywhere. Others that they knew what they were doing.
Yep.
But this one, he caught views of things that said, wow, I haven't seen that one before. So this was kind of fun to watch. Bunch of nuns going by.
And the fair wishes that every day had attendance like this.
Yeah. Yep. Would have turned a profit.
All that film, you never recognize anybody in those pictures.
Well, that's not true. The other day, who was it we recognized was the Broderick Crawford. We saw him in a movie.
Oh, okay.
People were visiting the Statue of Liberty, and there was Broderick Crawford. So, okay, the trouble is we could be looking at somebody we know, but the back of their head, right?
Hello. Here, flip that.
So as we go high above the sky,
You ever have an instance where the cable stalled and people were trapped up on the sky ride?
you know, I never heard of anybody getting stuck at the fair on this. They got stuck on the aerial tower ride, but I never heard of them having to do evacuation or anything of the Skyway. That would have been a bit of a job with a height. Hopefully the fire department has hook and ladders that high, but I'm sure that there's some mechanism or some way they have to do it. Heading towards the end at the Shea Stadium side. You can tell we just went through one of the towers as it get bumped around on the wheels at the tower. Trouble is, if you use your telephoto lens, the slightest little bump, gets greatly magnified. That was a truly massive skyway system.
I went to the New York New York State Fair, right?
No, after that it went to called Great Escape in New Jersey.
Okay.
Great adventure, great
Great
adventure.
Adventure, yeah, thanks. And I think part of it also went to Pirates World down in Florida.
You can see the bird cages turning.
Yep. The water dialed down a bit, though. It's no longer up to the top.
How'd they rotate that? Was that the force of water rotating the
Nope,
astral?
nope. It had a motor, and it just was on wheels.
Oh,
He's got quite a bit of footage here. It's going to break during this piece, and we'll go back. But these artists, they're doing pastel sketches. $3. I mean, think what a bargain that would be. To get this, and I mean, the guy's no Rembrandt or anything. But we'll see in one of the pictures, did a pretty nice job for $3.
but considering admission to the park was only $2, that was a lot of money.
I guess that's right. That's true. My brain was just thinking $3 is, less than a soda in a fast food place these days. But yeah, that's a good observation.
And wouldn't that be the equivalent of about $25 today?
Probably. Even there, the guy's putting a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah, you're right. Even 25 would be a bargain.
I was just wondering about the trained monkey act. If they just fallen out of fashion or been regulated out of existence.
Don't know. I guess today the amount of money they'd have to charge you to make it worth their while would be cost prohibitive or something. But all right, now let me go get the next piece. That's where it broke.
It's a pretty good likeness of her.
Always amazes me the speed at which those guys can work.
Yeah.
You don't get masterpiece, but for the 3 or 4 minutes they spend, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Today they're artists in the courtrooms.
Yeah. All the people getting their genuine Hawaiian plastic leis. There's the boathouse again in the background. We got a lot of footage here of Hawaii, including the souvenir stands and one of the entrance areas in the pylon. This was obviously over at the Hawaii side of the lake amusement area. We always parked over at the Florida side. Lots of souvenirs to buy and take home. And remember old style cash registers? When was the last time anybody paid at one of those?
Hey, my barber still has one of those.
Really?
Yeah, it's old fashioned barber shop.
Oh, wow.
I have one.
You have
Old-
a register like that? Wow.
Old, no, way older, way older.
Does he still charge old fashioned prices for a haircut?
And
Sign there
you know,
for
it's
the operator.
amazing how sophisticated they were. You know, National Cash Register. You know, you'd have the department, and it would, you know, you put in the tender, and it would come up with the change and everything.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, they're really amazing. You see the mechanics inside of it, and it's just like, holy crap!
It's all gears.
Yeah, just really complicated. What's funny about them is that it's hard to find one with marble, you know, plate on the front, or you know, it's the shelf on the over the cash drawer, because the employees would always crack the, you know, the coin tubes
Oh,
open
yeah.
on it,
The
and
paper
then
rolls.
yeah, and break them. So they're almost
Break
anytime
the
you see
tubes or
one,
break the
it's
marble. What did
yeah,
they break?
yep,
The tubes or the marble?
yep.
They broke the tubes or the marble.
Both.
Oh, the marble, yeah.
Marble. Okay.
Well, you know, they're breaking open the coin tubes, but it would that's yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that you can't find them without broken shelves because they broke them with the coins.
Was the purpose of that marble shelf to break the coins, or was it to lay the
I'm not
caps
sure.
that were given? You
That's
know,
a good question, Randy. I don't know.
I think it was just ornamental, and they didn't realize people were cracking the marble by breaking the coin tubes.
Well, I
Well,
bet
when
they
I worked-
realized.
I went to
bet they realized
Kmart,
pretty
the camera
soon.
department. One of there were two registers. One didn't make change and one did. And the older one that didn't make change had the marble thing on it. We were always told, you know, put the $20 bill there. You know,
Yes,
you can refer back to it in case the customer says you
tries to say
You
they
didn't print-
gave you a 20 instead of a 10 or whatever. Yep. Yep.
To Broadway with love. Well, actually, that's over in the New Orleans when they had a jazz club.
Say, Bill, did your family ever take the train to the fair or always take the car?
My family always went by car because, you know, it was put them all in the car one price. I went a lot by train. I could take we lived about 1.5 miles from the Long Island Railroad, so I could take the train in, change at Jamaica, and get up there. So I went by train quite a few times. I got to know the schedule very well because I was told that I could continue to go to the fair as long as I got home on time. And I realized if I missed the train, you know, there's no way to make up. I could, you know, no matter how fast I got to the station, I couldn't run home fast enough. So I got to know it very, very well on what time to be at the station to get back again. The elevator's going very slow up that trip.
Not quite a Sky Street, no.
No, look at the one on the other side. He's ripping up there. So
Sort of a sky sojourn.
Well, it's a sightseeing ride, not a high-speed ride.
Generally, though, it goes up pretty quick. That's the slowest I've ever seen it go. See, there it goes again. You know,
Yeah,
it's-
now it's moving at the right speed.
yeah, it's moving pretty good.
Famous snack patio of Missouri.
Yep, one of my favorite places to eat. Nobody knew it was there. Food was good and the prices were cheap and there was always a table. I'll only tell you that now because, you know, you don't have a time machine, so.
And
It was
the
kind of
favorite
behind the
food-
building, wasn't it?
But yeah, it was behind the building facing towards the highway.
What was the favorite food they serve in Missouri?
Hamburgers for me. A armored car in World's Fair colors.
Was that Shepherd's capsule or Carpenter's capsule?
That was a replica. That was a replica outside of Missouri.
Okay.
Alaska and Westinghouse.
Oh, Roger. Okay, dog bit me.
Down, Roger, down.
There's a FedEx guy threatening to kill us all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, our dogs have saved us from many a would-be assassin dressed as postmen, Amazon drivers, FedEx, pool man, gardener.
Or bombs placed in potato chip bags.
Yeah. Thank God they are on duty and can keep us safe.
Yep. Otherwise, you never know what would happen.
This is kind of neat. You know, you see all the still pictures, but in that particular one, you know, a lot of things moved and turned and, you know, good eye candy.
Yeah, it's not pavilion you hear a lot about.
Any idea where that is?
Not offhand. Sorry.
Looks like Japan, maybe?
It could be.
Could be because the right
I-
before there was
I-
Japan.
Yeah,
Uh,
I noticed a shadow of the smoke ring in that shot.
Yeah. Helicopter with pontoons, I think was just sightseeing.
Yeah. In Flight Simulator, all land various watercraft in the fountain heads up to the
Yeah.
sphere. It's amazing what you can land in like 3 feet of water.
45 minutes for the Carousel of Progress. I've got pictures showing 2.5 hours wait in that sign.
Wow.
Elevator for handicapped and for VIP access. Continental Insurance. Raleigh did such a great job with the Tower of the Four Winds. You can just see how, you know, all done by the natural winds of Flushing Meadows, but it sure catches your eye. Keystone Cops, this is over at Ryan Gold's Little Old New York.
And Bill, I'm sure we've talked about it at some point. Has there ever been any thought of recreating the Tower Four Winds?
They keep talking about it, and it gets very far along in the process, and then a bean counter will come up, and then it will die back down. So as I understand it, there's still more talk about it going on, so I keep my fingers crossed.
Maybe in this next phase of Disneyland that they're planning.
Not sure where, I keep hearing more about Florida, but, we'll see.
It would make a great weenie for one of the parks.
Yeah. I can put it in my front yard.
Yeah, it just made me realize it really is timeless. It could fit in any new place as well as the fair.
Yeah, sorry, just interrupting here 1 second. You know, they would do this sort of thing, bring in the, pipe bands and, sort of thing. Again, if your kids were playing at the fair, you and all your relatives were gonna go to the fair. So inviting, people to come in parade and stuff was a great idea. They should have done more of it, frankly. Like Expo 86 did an awful lot of that, and they credit that to a large extent for the fair being profitable.
Was Expo 86 profitable?
I think it turned a small profit. Again, I think it depends who you ask or how the books were done. But I
It
think,
would, yeah, it would not surprise me. Yeah.
yeah. Like Expo 82, I think they said, turned a profit, of $127 or, some minuscule amount of money. So, can't convince me that for, that when somebody cooked the books just to say they did it.
Oh, yeah, because wasn't that banking guy who faced all kinds of charges? Wasn't he involved?
Yep,
With
yeah,
it.
the guy for the savings and loan fiasco, Charles something. Yeah, he ended up going to prison.
Yes, I'm sure he knew. He was an expert in book cooking.
Yeah. What's really interesting is, how small an 8mm film is. I mean, smaller than the nail on your little finger, but yet you're still going to pick up the clarity, at least on my end, because you're going to be seeing this with Facebook compression. I can read the sign there that they're dancing in front of. So it's truly astonishing that the amount of detail you can pull out of some of these. Just wish he had sound movies back then, right?
Well, good film grain at the time was about 2000 DPI.
Mm-hmm.
So, when it's shot with better film and it's shot with better exposure, yeah, like motion pictures are.
Right. It's just these images are so small. They're just so tiny. It's amazing that you can pull this out of it. Now this is all scanned on a 4K camera, so that also helps with the the resolution. I have a sudden desire to dance with a beer stein on my head. Which is probably footage of me somewhere in Oktoberfest doing that, but that's another story.
That's the true story of what you were doing when you tripped and fell.
Either that or you were trying Los Valedores in your front yard and hit the door.
Well, those guys scare me. No thanks.
The guy with this film probably had a slight, not only is the exposure well, but the guy probably had a camera with a slightly better lens on it than other standard 8mm consumer cameras,
Yeah,
because that certainly would help as well.
yeah, it's like, you can see so many, the difference between most Instamatic shots with a plastic lens and a 35 millimeter shot with a glass lens. The difference is overwhelming. And every now and then you get some Instamatic shots from one of the higher end with a glass camera, and you go, wow, what a difference that made.
Yeah, Kodak made some of its 126 Instamatics in Germany. So they were good quality.
Yeah, I mean, they had some top of the line ones with motor drives and all sorts of things in them. I think I might have mentioned another talk. One of my first job offers from when I got out of college was for Kodak, and it was very, very appealing because of all the free film that it would get. But the job was making sure that Instamatic cameras did not last forever, and basically it was the plan obsolescence department. That they had to be designed well enough that they would last for the warranty, but too expensive to fix after. So I declined that job. Then they asked if I wanted to do the same thing for their carousel projector department, and I said no, but thanks. But and then now that I see what's happened with the Kodak, company and their pension plan and everything else, thank God I didn't take that job. But it was awful tempting. Free film.
Probably good discounts on photo equipment too.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had basically an employee lab where you could do all your own developing and
wow.
enlarging and printing. It was quite a because they took me for a tour of the employee perk area. It was very, very impressive. I mean, gear that you could only salivate to think about using.
Yeah, that would be the perk bill. The film was relatively cheap. Is forever, as far as I can ever remember. It was the getting it processed that cost a
Yeah.
fortune.
Yeah, and like I said, they had a whole club, and they had contests and all that sort of thing there. They obviously encourage people to take a lot of pictures. And I remember talking to somebody who goes, after the first 100 rolls, it all wears off. And I said, oh, I'm sure willing to give it a try.
That 64 pennant that I have, that came from a vice president of Kodak who, knew I loved the World's Fair and then brought me that as a souvenir.
That's very nice.
Yeah. I've shown it to you before. Another story I wanted to ask you about is after I did the record thing and I learned about the Mormon church bringing those statues and all the murals and stuff here to Salt Lake for the visitor center. So I was mentioning that to a couple of neighbors that I knew were back in New York, and they both went to the World's Fair, and the one couple, she sang in that women's choir that I had the record of. And then Charlene, her husband, invented the first IBM PC, and he and I were really, really good friends. He passed away a few years ago, but what she remembered most is that they were chaperoning this group of kids, and then one of the little boys got kidnapped, and I can't remember what she said his name was. It was something like Harvey Bierman or something like that. I was wondering if you heard a story about that ever, about a kid getting kidnapped and they found him like 5 days later or something.
Was he kidnapped at the fair?
Yeah, he's kidnapped at the fair. He was with the group, she said, and he just left. She said he was kind of a rich, entitled kid and, wouldn't listen to them. And he just decided to go get himself some ice cream, and they lost track of him and ended up, he'd been kidnapped. And like I said, they ended up finding him, like, I think she said 5 days later.
No, I never heard that story.
Okay, well, I'll try to get more then and share it with you guys.
Great,
So
thank you.
Tom, the artwork at the at the Latter-day Saints Visitor Center in Salt Lake are from the fair? Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
And the
didn't know-
statues. There's a statue of Jesus Christ, holding his hands out.
Yeah,
And then
I've been
there's-
to the visitor center a couple times. Yeah, and
And you didn't come and see me?
I didn't know you were there.
Oh, well, next time.
Yeah, probably won't happen again.
Anybody here?
With Delta
Any-
Airlines, we used to have Salt Lake layovers all the time, so I'd
Oh,
go
yeah.
every once in a while. And
Any of you feel welcome. We have lots of room here. If you come to Salt Lake, you can come stay with us. I'll come pick you up at the airport.
so do you work at the visitor center or no?
Oh,
Where-
heavens, no, no.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not religious. We did get married in the Salt Lake Temple,
Okay.
but we were kind of got discouraged right away.
Yeah, happens.
Right?
One of the, one of the big statues from the pavilion, the Christus statue, is out here at the
Yeah.
center in West LA. So there's little bits and pieces of the fair scattered all around.
Yeah, they had one of Joseph Smith kneeling, I guess, in the woods when he
Right.
was spoken to and given the tablets. So that's here, at least last time I went. I haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah, I just made a note. I've got to get in touch. Somebody's doing a documentary about the Mormon Pavilion, and I sent them a whole bunch of stuff. And I haven't heard back from them. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'd like to know more about that.
they've been working on it for about 3 years, and then funding will dry up, and they'll stop, and then it gets started again. So I just sent them some stuff about 4 weeks ago, and have to see, where they stand on getting it done. There was
Well,
also somebody doing a thing about Dominic Tucci, the kid that ran away and hid at the World's Fair for
Yes.
5 days. So I have to see where they're going with that. So, all these projects pop up and then they die out, and then sometimes they come back and sometimes they don't. So it's
Well, I sent you the link, that has that kid being interviewed.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope
It's- yeah.
folks enjoyed the trip back to 64 today. And to me, let me look at the chat here. I have to see.
Oh, I wanted to let you know too, I contacted the Mormon church's, what you call customer relations, and they didn't know anything about the World's Fair and the church's involvement in it, or, that those, displays and stuff got moved to Salt Lake. They were like, tell us more. Tell us more.
So they
Kathy had a
had-
question about, is there a record who was in the photos at the top of the Kodak Pavilion? Ever meet any of them? I tried to find out from Kodak, any information about those pictures, and Kodak was pretty much the same thing. It was a World's Fair? What do you mean? But I had
Yeah.
a woman about 10, 12 years ago get in touch with me that she is she was a little girl in one of the pictures, and she was there with somebody was posed as her mom. It wasn't her real mom. It was done by a professional photographer, and she's skipping rope on a beach, and she's asked if I had a copy of that picture. So I checked through my files, and I found a copy of it, and I sent it to her, and she wrote back and said, this is great. I hadn't seen it. It's just too bad my dress wasn't purple, because she's in some business selling lilac scented stuff. And so her website had the name Purple in it or something, because purple is always my favorite color. I wish I was wearing purple then. So half an hour later, she had a picture of herself in the thing. I had addressed her red dress to purple. So
Cool.
she was very, very thrilled. And but yeah, again, I tried to find out who did the pictures, where they came from. Kodak said, no, we don't have any records on any of that anymore. It may be at the Eastman House. So I wrote to the Eastman House, and they basically said, we may have records on it, but they're in storage, and it's $125 an hour to do any research. And I said, thank you very much. The Churchill exhibit was sponsored by a British American group, and I don't recall the exact name off the top of my head, but it was a group that was basically, exalting Churchill, who had just recently died. Let's see. Okay. Scott had a headache on the phone with the company. We all know that. 6 axle trucks in the Lincoln Tunnel are, oh, they can still go through to $110 to $135. Wow.
That's round trip.
Wow. Just reading through here. Yeah, you can't use the fountains because everybody uses this at the Unisphere as a swimming pool. Unfortunately. Yeah, Michelle mentioned driving across the new bridge as the old bridge is being taken apart. The old Tappan Zee Bridge, to me, again, I loved it. When we're all piled in the station wagon, all 5 of us boys, the dog, parents, and we'd be going up to Lake George. But you know, when you got to the Tappan Zee, you were there. In its later years, though, you could definitely feel the vibrations in it that you didn't, or maybe I didn't notice earlier. But it was definitely, it was time for it to come down. But yeah, it was strange because they got one of the spans open for a while. They had the old bridge and one of the spans of the new one. Then they finished the span of the new one. Then they took the old one down. But yeah, it was weird to go across and see half the bridge just hanging there in the air. But yeah, it was and the Tappan Zee was one of these things where they introduced reversible lanes. Where again, when in the movie we saw here, there were 2-3 lanes this way, 2-3 lanes that way, but they came up with this giant thing like a zipper where this machine would go along and the because first they just tried lights, but then that didn't work. So they had this movable median that the guy would drive across the bridge, and it would like a zipper, it would go in one side of the machine, come out the other side, and have been moved over. But we were going across at one time when the machine broke down. So now they had half of the bridge done and the other half, and it was massive problems getting through. And it was on the news that night that machine was something like 25 years old. The company had gone out of business 15 years earlier, and they were hand forging parts to get it back into shape for the morning's commute. So yeah.
Well, why didn't the lights work? I mean, that's what they do in Cleveland. They just have the overhead lights.
People don't pay
Either-
attention, you know.
I'm just trying to figure out how to get there. The parking situation is not lovely.
Yeah.
There are like 6 spots behind the house where you can go.
Yeah, there's a street in Santa Clara, California, where I was raised that a few years ago, it's kind of a main artery that ends up at
Parking
San
along
Airport.
Spruce Street.
They did that street light thing to indicate what lanes were what direction, and it is still, they still use it, but it doesn't work real well. I mean, they have, you know, accidents there all the time. You're constantly having to maneuver out of the way if somebody's going to hit you head on because they don't know that,
Wow.
you know, you're going the wrong way. So
Right here, I thought it was a
If
brilliant
alcohol's
idea.
involved.
Yeah.
Well, here in LA, they do some reverse traffic for the Hollywood Bowl, and you know, they get people in and out of the bowl, and they use about 1,400 you know, cones, and they block off the lanes and that sort of thing. But we don't have any you know, our freeways are pretty much concrete barriers, and
Right.
but you know, you go visit like in Washington, when we go visit Margot, a lot of the freeways there, you know, they close off the section and it becomes you know, northbound these hours, southbound those hours, but they use barriers and everything there.
Hmm.
So I guess down in DC, I know they have all sorts of things. These roads are tolls during these hours, free in other hours. So wherever you go, you know, the highways are different. Next week, there will not be a talk, because next week Margot is bringing our granddaughter, and we will be, during this time of day, bouncing her in our knee and hoping she's not spitting up on us. Margot is convinced her daughter is a co-star of The Exorcist, because every now and then she sends the pictures of just very, very high trajectory stuff. But we're
Oh no.
yeah, we haven't seen her since the week she was born, so we're going to be oohing and ahhing, and you'll probably hear it back east. And then 2 weeks from now, Michelle is going to give us a talk on Disney 100, the touring exposition that premiered in Pennsylvania, and she's put together a big show for us on that, and appreciate all the efforts on that.
Wow, Michelle, really looking forward to that.
that'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, just It might be a little long, so I'll try not to take all your time up. There's a lot of stuff in there. I can probably do 3 separate talks on it.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I won't be here for
That
3
would be
weeks.
fine.
I'll be in Pennsylvania next week and New Jersey the week after that, so I won't be back for 3 weeks.
Michelle, is it gonna come
report
to
it
the
for
LA
you.
area, do you know?
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
Is this exhibit gonna come to the Los Angeles area?
I don't believe so unless they make a late announcement. It opened in Philadelphia last year and then moved to Chicago because that's Walt's birthplace. It's going to open in Kansas City in about 2 weeks because that's his childhood home, that in Marceline, right? I haven't heard that it's going to move anywhere else. There is a concurrent one going on in, is it London?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they have a lot of their stuff spread all over the place.
I heard that there's a rumor it may go to the Reagan because the Reagan when the Carol worked on at the Reagan Museum for Disney was super successful. So I gather this.
I went to that one. Yeah.
Way about that.
Well, it's going to be in Kansas City probably from May until later on during the year, because it's usually 6 months long, so or 5 months long or whatever it is. So it could. I mean, why not keep it going, right?
Well, as somebody told me, they've got to bring it all back to California anyway. So, you know, we'll see if it happens that way or not. If so, maybe Carol can become a tour guide there, and we can all go and get a tour.
For free.
Nice.
I wanted to just say congratulations to Beth and her son on graduation, and looked like he had a big day. And yeah, what's next on his timetable?
So he's been dual enrolled at Kennesaw State for the last year, and he's going to stay there and get a history degree. But we know graduate school is probably in his future too, so we'll see where he goes after that. He's interested in history and archival work, so either working in an archive or maybe being a history professor. So
Happy.
Nice. Very nice.
Oh, he's done.
So we might be looking at the future archivist of the United States,
it could be.
because that's a position.
You know, it's funny how your brain works. And you said future archivist. I was thinking of Disney because that's going to be my thing. But United States, I think too. I might take Disney. I don't know.
Maybe he can archive your collection, Bill, when you want to retire.
Well, it was funny when I talked to Dave Smith over the years. You know, we were talking about collecting stuff, and he had very, very little Disney stuff in his collection. So he said when you're surrounded by it all day, you don't want to see it all night. But he also never wanted anybody, saying that anything from the archives ended up in the Dave Smith collection, sort of thing. So, but I'm happy to say there's a number of things I had in the Cotter collection, and they're now part of the Disney Archives collection. So,
Cool.
but I actually did end up with something from the Disney Archives. That there was a figure that they had of Pablo the Cold-Blooded Penguin. If you remember the cartoon character, and they really, really wanted it. And I happened to, one fell into my lap. So Dave Smith gave me an autographed copy of Lady and the Tramp, autographed by Walt. I still have it up in the Brandy.
I was gonna ask Beth what's in the background on her photo.
Oh, that's from the Biltmore. That's one of the entrances at the Biltmore.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
And
yay,
also-
Biltmore.
Ken, do
That's the
that?
Biltmore Estate? The Biltmore
Ken, yours
Estate?
is that from the Centennial Park in Dallas?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying.
All right,
I'll have to
Randy,
change it
what's
up. It's the
behind
same
you?
as last.
What's behind you, Randy?
Swiss Pavilion at Expo 2020.
Oh, okay, great. Well,
My
Wayne
desk-
just
my
left the
desk is
desert.
behind me.
He's off in the lakes this week, so getting a little variety there. Well, again, next week we will be gone. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and I did not get to it today, but I have a really nice movie from Expo 74 in Spokane that I will have, and some other odds and ends. And this just
Hey,
it took forever to get
Bill.
those out of the scanner, but now I'm cranking through them like a machine.
Hey, Bill, we will want to see a picture of you and your granddaughter together, just
Oh,
because.
we can safely arrange that. And you know, it's really interesting. So, you know, we get videos all the time. She's a very vocal ooh and ah, particularly when she's eating. Oh, yeah, Michelle, do you just want to mention about Stage 89 before you go, which I will probably be watching too?
Oh, yeah, sure. I've been watching it all morning. It's a 2-day event. Brock mentioned it a couple weeks ago. It's put on between Stage 89 and WDW News Today. It's about Hollywood Studios' 35th anniversary event. So they've been having panels all day. It'll continue on to about 4:30, and then they'll do it all over again tomorrow from like 9 to 4 as well. Different panels, different people. Bob Weiss is there. So that's like a big deal. So, yeah. So it's a lot cheaper to watch the virtual version being in there in person. Virtual was $20 a ticket. It was $10 a few months ago versus being there in person. It's like $300. So I'm not really sure how they got the dichotomy of those prices, but they came back from lunch and this started about 10 minutes ago. So it's Brock and about 4 or 5 other people talking about Star Tours and Star Wars and how they got all that together is the current panel.
You know, it's one of the things the people that organized this were very nice. They sent a free code to everybody that was an Imagineer retired in that, so I'll be able to go and watch it for free. So that was very
Nice.
nice of them to do that.
Yeah, it'll go on to about 4:30 today. So you have like 2 panels if you wanted to watch it, but Brock is on this one.
All right, I'll go and catch them. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
I'll see you in 3
Thank
weeks.
Woo!
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks again,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Bye.
You're welcome, Irv. Bye.